of war or peace, on the front lines or behind the scenes, every veteran played a vital role in keeping our nation safe and strong. We also honor the families of our veterans, those who have waited, worried, and supported from afar. Their strength and sacrifice are part of every veteran's story, and they too deserve our gratitude. When we see our flag flying high, when we speak freely, and when we gather in safety, these are daily reminders of what our veterans have given us. Their legacy lives not only in our history books, but in the freedoms we enjoy each and every day. So today, and every day, we say thank you. Thank you for your service, your bravery, and your enduring commitment to the ideals to this great nation. As we begin our program, let us carry forward the spirit of service and gratitude. Let us remember that honoring our veterans means more than just words. It means living with integrity, kindness, and beauty as citizens of a free nation. Thank you for joining us as we honor these heroes. Now please rise and join me. We will now play the parade of uniforms. We ask that you please stand if able when your next song is played. was inspired to serve by his grandfather, Jefferson P. Sullivan, whose remarkable military career stands as a true testament to courage and dedication. Jefferson Sullivan served throughout World War II, first in the South Pacific, where he made several landings with the Marine Raiders at Guadalcanal. His unit fought in 6 of the 7 major battles in that region. Following his service in the Pacific, he was sent to England to take part in the D-Day invasion at Utah Beach. After the Germans surrendered, he returned once again to the South Pacific. Over the course of his career, he was wounded 3 times and received the Bronze Star of Valor. Serving as a battlefield medic attached to a Marine Ranger division, Jefferson P. Sullivan dedicated more than 30 years in his uniform, and even after retiring, he continued his service as a civilian on base, contributing over 50 years in total to the United States of America. Please join me in giving a warm welcome to Scott Sullivan as he shares the extraordinary life and legacy of his grandfather, Jefferson P. Sullivan.
Here in County Ocean. We say thank you for your service all the time to our veterans. But I'd just like to remind you of what that means. That means every single person here at one point stopped their life and wrote a blank check to the United States government. That included up to giving their own life. It was unbelievable sacrifice. My grandfather was just one of 16 million young men and women who fought for the United States in World War II. Of those 16 million, today less than 48,000 are alive. As I looked through the veterans today, I did not see one that I recognized to be a World War II vet. It is our job to remember them and the sacrifice that they made for us. So it is a great honor for me to be here today, to have the opportunity to honor my grandfather. He was already in the Navy when World War II broke out. He had been in for about 4 years, 5 years. He was immediately sent to the South Pacific after the Japanese bombed Pearl Harbor. And he was attached to Carlson's Raiders and Edson Butchers. And he made multiple landings with them into Guadalcanal and into the Russell Islands. And if you don't know who they were, that's something you can look up, but they were kind of a reconnaissance. They kind of be, our recon units today. And they were the first ones in. That, in Guadalcanal was where he was wounded his first time. They were clearing an area, and he went past a Japanese soldier, who they all assumed was dead, and after he passed him, the Japanese soldier stood up and bayoneted. And fortunately for my grandfather, he was able to pull his K-bar knife and dispatch that Japanese soldier. And I can tell you this, as a battlefield medic, years after my grandfather regretted that. It just tore at him and he had to take a life. So then he was sent back to Florida in the United States, where he healed up. He was in the hospital. Of course, you have to know my grandfather that he was also taking some college courses while he was healing. He was always looking to make better of himself. As soon as he was well, he was sent over to England, where he was in charge of setting up a hospital lots of men lost their lives that day going on to the beaches of Normandy. My grandfather went in with the 101st, and they went into Utah Beach, and fortunately, again, he survived that. As those battles continued onward, he was brought back to the hospital ship, worked on the hospital ship, and then as time wore on, of course, we defeated Germany, but yet we had not defeated the Japanese. And so he was again shipped back to the South Pacific. There in the South Pacific, he was sent in to first the Philippines, and they were liberating the Philippines, and then they went into Okinawa. And then in one of the articles that I have in the newspaper, he talks about being radioed on a ship, and they were told, you need to move south, move away from this area, and then later, the next day, we dropped the A-bomb on Nagasaki. And he said everybody on the ship thought that it was just this big thunderclap, and they didn't know until the next day what had actually happened. Prior to that, I guess it was another time that he was wounded. His ship was hit with a Japanese kamikaze airplane, where the plane actually hit the gun above. The bomb that they had on board went down through a couple of decks, through the deck area where he was at. And this is where my grandfather received the Bronze Star, because he was wounded himself, but then he went back in and pulled 16 men out of that wreckage. Home did get back under its own power, and they were one of the ships that escorted the USS Missouri into Tokyo Bay for the surrender of the Japanese. It amazes me how much he saw, and as a battlefield medic, all the horrors that he saw, and yet how willingly he was to serve his country. He gave 30 years and 2 months of his life to the United States Navy. It's the reason I joined. I was so proud of her that fact. He later on went to be an inspector at a medical warehouse on base, and continued to serve. His whole life was about service. It was about giving something back to his country that he loved. And so for me to have the opportunity to be here today and to lift him up and to have him remembered by people that don't even know him, it's a great honor for me to be able to do that for him. There are lots of kids here, and most of you know nothing about what we're talking about, but you have grandpas, great-grandpas, who served their country, and it's your job to remember them, always. I would just ask that each one of you thank these men before you today for the service that they've given to their country. Not because they would ask it from you, because they wouldn't, but because they deserve it. There's one that's not here today, and I just kind of wanted to mention him, Leo Creedy. I was looking back, and I read his obituary. Leo used to go to my church. He was a World War II veteran. And as I was reading his obituary, I realized that he had been on Utah Beach the same day my grandfather was on Utah Beach. And it just amazes me when I think about it. There are probably great-grandfathers here to some of these kids that my grandpa probably knew. everything. We would not have a nation if patriots had not stood up against the British in 1776. We would not have a nation if 16 million Americans hadn't stood up against the German and the Japanese. So we owe them everything that we have. We owe them the greatest gratitude, and we can't ever forget that. It's too important. My grandfather never talked about the war. Everything I know I read from newspaper articles and his military record. They came back and they used the word back then, shell shock. Today they call it PTSD. But really, the veterans of World War II really just kind of had to pull themselves up and pull it together. So I just have this great love for them. And I thank every one of you, myself personally, for the service that you gave. I thank you for the sacrifice that you made from your families. And I thank you for the sacrifice that you made for your country. My grandfather